Hey friend, welcome to another Rise and Shine Stories episode. Today you're in for a real treat. I am going to be interviewing and chatting with Amber Pearce. She is special. So I'm going to invite her in and we will get this party started. Technology is in our favor today. We haven't had too many hiccups, so here she is. Hello, Amber. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm glad we got it to
Good.
work. You never know.
I know. I don't do lives, so I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
But you know what though? I feel like this is going to be like the theme of our conversation is getting outside of your comfort zone. So you are a testament to getting outside of your comfort zone. You're like more comfortable now with podcasting, and so like doing an Instagram live is it's something different for you. So thank you
Yeah.
for doing that for us.
I was just thinking of that before. I'm like, oh, I don't like doing lives, but yes, out
It's
out
so
of my
good to
comfort
stretch.
zone. It's so
Yes, it's so
funny.
good to stretch ourselves. And it's nice to like, I don't know, go live because you have to be on your toes. It's a more of a conversation than like a script. So
Yeah,
hopefully this is a good conversation.
no
Well,
pressure.
for those who don't know you, Amber, will you please introduce yourself? Tell us about your journey to building a brand online.
Sure. So, well, I'm Amber. It's so funny. People are like, oh, Amber Dawn Pearce, but just Amber is fine. That's just the handle that was available. Uh, but, oh, goodness. I, it's been quite the journey. I don't know if you want the short version or the long version, but basically, many years ago, goodness, like 16 years ago, I, um, I started my own little business, and it was just because I wanted to be able to afford, a nicer dining room table,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And I discovered I was really good at it. And, but the whole time, the Lord was like, this isn't what you think it is. And this is only to prepare you for something else. And all of my guesses as to what that might be were completely wrong.
Mhm.
But I continued in that business and I learned just amazing skills that I didn't know I had inside of me. And at some point there, the Lord asked me to walk away from it all. It was like, okay, now all these ways that I have blessed you in this success, I will bless you even more as you testify of me, and ask me to take all those skills and use them to testify of Christ. And that was a tricky journey in itself. I didn't know where to start. I had a blog that nobody read except for my mom. But that blog was powerful in helping me to learn how to receive personal revelation. And then even while I was doing this blog, I started just these like little visions and glimpses of what the Lord had in store for me started coming into my mind. Am I giving too long of an introduction?
No, no, no. Keep going. We
We'll
want to
just
hear.
jump right in. Okay. Um, and so and they're like, it was so many things that I started writing these things down on cards and putting them on um, a cork board. And but then shortly after that, I got really, really sick, like incapacitated, sick. And as I was trying to heal from that, my father got cancer and he lives with me. And so I was trying to take care of myself, trying to take care of him. And I remember looking at all those little visions that God had put into my mind. And I'm like, why are these even here? And I literally like just tore them all off that board because I was like, this isn't going to happen. I'm so unwell. And I just shoved them in a drawer. And so when I started to get better, and sadly my father lost his battle with cancer and he passed away, I started feeling like, what now?
Mhm.
What now? And I'd almost completely forgotten about those little visions, those dreams. And it was really hard finding the answer because there was two things that I had promised myself I would never, ever, ever do. Like, yes, God, I'll testify for you, but I'm never going on Instagram, and I am never, ever starting a podcast.
Joke's on
And
you.
so it left me there. So that's the longer introduction to my story, and obviously I got here somehow.
Well, I think it's so beautiful that God gives us little nudges, ideas, and like we act on them, but it's in his timing. And so your business was a success, but it was preparing you for something bigger and better. And even though it wasn't like in your timing, it's all like it's unfolding. And as
Yes,
you had the faith and the courage to get outside of your comfort zone and act on that, um, he opens doors for us, and that's beautiful.
absolutely.
Well, so your upbringing is far from conventional. I actually love this story. You're raised by hippie parents in the mountains with like minimal amenities, which is so cool and crazy, but amazing. How do you feel that that background helped shape your faith, your resilience, and your perspective on life today?
I think it shaped things in a lot of ways. Like, because we didn't have electricity, there was no TV, there's no screen time, right? And and we lived down in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like I could run down the road to go play with a friend.
Hmm.
A lot of my time was spent alone. I became a very introspective child. I loved hiking and biking all by myself, all over the mountains. And so it definitely shaped me that way. I feel like it shaped how I communicate with God and put together thoughts, just because I learned how to be quiet in my thoughts and hear things that I normally wouldn't hear. Um, well, it gave me a great appreciation for lights and toilets, but we won't go into that. But I, I've learned also that money isn't where it's at. You know, I grew up with very little, and I had, from a child perspective, a very blessed life. And my parents, they adopted 8 kids as well, and they just had this. They showed me this example of just your money is no good if you keep it. Just do good with it, and don't worry. Things will come. God will provide. And I saw witnesses of that, and so I am grateful for that perspective as well. But and the other thing that I'll just share one. There's so many. The other thing is just that um, the evidence that God truly can consecrate all for your good. I learned how to be crazy adaptable and adaptable to crazy, because my life was so crazy. And it gave me this broader view of the world and God's children and the suffering in the world, and that truly God can, he heals all, whatever it may be.
I think you have
So
a very healthy perspective on it because some, who could have been raised in that situation can think, poorly on those things. But I love that you um, can think of how what you learn from it and how it has made you better and closer to God. I do think that we live in a world that is so noisy and we have so many distractions. So I'm a little jealous that like you had that experience as a child, but I guess we can all create that for ourselves now. We can remove ourselves and we can be still and silent and get ourselves out in nature so we can be closer to God. So thank you for that reminder. It really does matter to slow down,
yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah,
important, and you have to work a little harder at it these days, it seems, but it's
you
so
do.
important.
Yeah, you have to be really intentional. So you had this nagging feeling there was something more waiting for you, even though you were very comfortable. And that's a lot of women. We get very comfortable.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that moment of clarity? Like, how did God lead you to leave behind what was working and then step into storytelling as your mission?
Yeah, it was lots of little steps. I think God knew that I was a little bit stubborn, and so he had to give me these reminders over and over again. One of the first ones is it was one of those moments where I was in a church meeting and someone got up and was like, "I need to say this because someone in this room needs to hear it." And I'm looking
Hmm.
around like, "Oh, who is it? It's not going to be me, you know." And he taught was talking about the scripture where people are like, we don't need a Bible, we don't need more, that
Hmm.
rejection. And so I'm like, oh yeah, who is this for? And the next day I found myself sitting on the porch and thinking, wow, I'm so blessed, I'm good, I'm so happy with my life, I don't need anything else. And in that moment the Spirit was like, that was for you. I have
Hmm.
so much more in store for you. Stop saying that it is good enough. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, I couldn't even imagine because I was just happy in my life. And honestly, I didn't want the challenge. But things like this started coming over and over and over again. And over several years, I'm a little embarrassed to say it took me a while to hear. But finally, I was actually on a hike. My father had passed away just a month or so prior, and I was on a hike with my husband. And I was just like trying to connect the dots. I was verbalizing every single prompting and little vision that God had given me and trying to understand what He was trying to tell me and what I was supposed to do now. Because I was starting to feel like, okay, it's time. I can do this. But I just didn't know what. And actually, it was like an hour and a half of me going through all these things. And at the end of the hike, we get to the car and I'm totally disappointed because I was like, okay, I thought some inspiration would come as I'm trying to connect these dots. And during the hike, my husband was like, Amber, why don't you just start sharing on social media? I was like, no, I hate social media. I'm not doing that. And but then I stopped and I was like, well, there is only one thing I do like about sharing on social media, and that's when if I share something, when someone is like reaches out to me and says, what you shared blessed my life. I said I
Hmm.
appreciate it when that happens, but besides that, no thank you. So we get in the car and I pick up my phone and there is a message waiting for me on Instagram, which was really weird for me because I never used Instagram. I had never even DM'd anyone or received a DM before. And I open it up and I open up my DM, and it's a message from a woman who said that she was doing a search online and somehow came across a Facebook post that I had shared like 4 years ago and sharing about how I was able to overcome something. And she said, I just have to tell you what you said was the exact answer to my prayer. And as I read that message from that woman, the Spirit was like, you need to be on social media. And so there it began.
It's amazing. I love those tender mercies, It's like when we need just like a little, I guess, push,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little bit of proof. That right there was like, no, you are meant to be on social media. People need to hear what you have to say. And I love
Yeah.
that woman that she was inspired to find you and reach out to you. That was just like, was that for you? Was that just like, okay, I'm going to start now?
Oh yeah, it was very clear that this was no coincidence. That it was
Hmm.
she didn't even have a Facebook account. She was just searching. She was in despair and she was just searching, how do I smile again? She was
Oh,
searching
wow.
that phrase. And somehow it led her to this random Facebook post.
That's not a
And
coincidence. Yeah.
no, it wasn't a coincidence at all. And even that she found me on Instagram and messaged me there, because had she just made a comment, well, she couldn't make a comment on Facebook because she didn't have a Facebook
Yeah.
account. Um, so it just and the timing of it all. So I just knew that social media what I was supposed to do, and I think it needed to be in that miraculous kind of way because I had decided I had told God
Hmm.
that I would never go on social media.
I love it. He's like, you want to swallow those words?
Yeah.
I love it. So when you first began sharing your faith stories online on social media, um, you were very nervous to be on social media and start influencing. So how did you overcome those fears? I mean, like once you actually took the step forward, like did you just all of a sudden just start?
Yeah, believe me, it's so funny, and I don't think I'm the only one that does this. When I would post, there would be certain people in my brain
Mm.
that I'm like, oh my gosh, so and so is going to see this. What are they going to think? Like, I was totally worried. Mostly, I wasn't worried about the strangers as much. I was worried
Hmm.
about my friends and family that,
That's
like,
true.
what judgment is going to
Hmm.
come. They're going to think I'm crazy because I just used my personal accounts. I didn't set up new accounts. But even, and also what strangers were going to think, like what hate was I going to get? It was pretty nerve wracking in the beginning. I would literally be shaking as I hit publish, and I put my phone down, and I'd have to like take some deep breaths because it was pretty nerve wracking.
Hmm.
Just, worrying about the judgment, just getting in my head and caring more about what other people thought than what God thought. But honestly, I think I'm so grateful. God was holding my hand the whole time. It truly His mercy. The very first thing that I posted, that post ended up being a miracle in and of itself. Like, I think He was trying to show me, like, I've got you, Amber. See,
Hmm.
it's okay. And so when that went okay, then it gave me courage to do the next and to the next. And over time, that fear faded away. The people in my head that I was worried about what they would think, that slowly faded away. And I started to realize that, most of the fears, they're just so irrelevant. They're really only in your head.
Absolutely.
So
And I think as women take that step out of their comfort zone, I think the biggest thing that is holding them back, well, there's two things: themselves, that fear, right? And then also their fear of judgment of others. But really, it, who cares what other people think? Most people will be very supportive, or they're
yeah.
just too busy thinking about their own life. But really, it does not matter what other people think. As long as you are following your passion and purpose with God, that's all that matters. And I love that you were brave enough,
Yeah.
and that's how you gain confidence in whatever area of life that you were trying to learn and grow. Is you just keep taking that step forward of in fear and faith. You just get more comfortable, and I love that you didn't hold back, because if you had let that fear and the judgment of others hold you back, we wouldn't have the beautiful stories and the words of wisdom that you share with us. So thank you for being courageous.
Well, I
um
am grateful.
so you were told to tell your stories, but that's also a beautiful and a very intimidating thing. So what makes a story worth sharing, and how do you decide when, like, which ones you should share and maybe which ones you should keep private? Like, is there a litmus test for that for you?
Yeah, well, from the very beginning, God has been very clear with me, like, I will show you what to post and only post what I show
Hmm.
you to post. And, I, coming from like a business background, of course, I wanted to make this whole schedule of this post is then, and, when I'm going to record reels, and the Spirit immediately dismantled all of that. It didn't work. And again, it was like, no, you post what comes to you, what I bring to you. And so I have no schedule. I never know what I'm going to post, sometimes until the moment that I record it. I plan nothing ahead, and I just trust in what the Spirit brings to me. Sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot that story. I'm excited. Other times I'm like, oh my gosh, you really want me to talk about this? That is, I'm going to get so much criticism. Um, but that's how I discern it. The Spirit lets me know what's okay, what's not okay, And because, it's easy to get wrapped up as well in like the trends and what everyone else is sharing or whatever. But I think it muddies our message, our unique message, when we look to others as what is and isn't okay to post. And if you just listen to the spirit, that's when true authenticity and the beautiful stories come out. Because believe me, there's like plenty of stories about my life that I just can't tell. And that's actually part of what took me so long, is that I I think I balled up my my life into one ball of like heartache and fear. And it's actually been a healing process where the spirit is like, no, there's this beautiful story you can tell, and there's this beautiful story that you can tell. And so in the end, if it will bring people closer to Christ, it's worth sharing.
I love that. Well, I think it's so relatable. I think because you are so unfiltered, it's so relatable. There are so many women who are like, yeah, I felt that way. Or you bring insight to us that's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or, so I really do appreciate that you do follow the spirit, because it is what we need to hear. Like this morning, I think it was today that you posted about President Nelson's passing and how he was our prophet today, because he raised 9 daughters, and we are living in a world right now that we need strong women. And I thought that was such a beautiful perspective. I was like, yes. So thank you for following that inspiration, because you do share things that we need to hear. And it is more authentic. It is more relatable. So that's great. So for women listening who feel unfinished, or imperfect or weary, what would you whisper in their ear?
I would whisper that it's never too late, number one. Well, just because I get so many people who are like, oh yeah, I have the same prompting as you, but I didn't listen. Or feeling this um, embarrassment or shame that, like, or worry that, yeah, God told me to do something and I didn't listen, and so that opportunity is gone. And you guys, it took me 7 years to step in what God was trying to show me. And I almost lit that message. Oh, it's too late. I could have, but I didn't. I missed my chance. No, just you never. God will open the doors when the time is right, and it's never too late. And sometimes He gives you promptings for things. We're taught that you answer that prompting the moment you get it, right? But that there are some promptings that are timely like that, but there are some promptings where God is preparing us for the future. And it's okay to step back and say, okay, God, is this for now or is this for later? And then if you're feeling this is probably for later, just trust that you're going to know when it's time to do that. And don't bring yourself down by saying, oh, I missed that opportunity. It's just not true.
Such great advice. Such great advice. I think the older we get too, we think, well, no, it's too late. I can't do that. I'm too old, or that time has passed, but it's never too late. I love that so much. It's great advice. If you could give your younger Amber, maybe like 10 years ago or beyond, before this all began, one message of encouragement, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that don't worry about it. You don't have to open the doors. God will open every single door. All you have to do is walk through it. Like when I was receiving these promptings, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to figure this out? And that caused more stress than the prompting itself. Is thinking, oh man, I got to do all this. It's actually, no, you just have to be willing to walk through the door. Be ready and willing to walk through the door. And don't let all of that stress overcome you and make you shy away. I wish I could have kind of shook myself and said that to myself, like, you don't realize the doors that are going to open. And also I would have told myself, everything that God is telling you and promising you, it's 100% true, and then some. Your mind is going to be blown.
I
So,
love that. I think as women, we like to see the whole picture. We like to
yes.
see the beginning to the end and all lined up. But we just need to just take one step forward, and then it will just open up as we continue to take those brave steps. That's a good reminder. All right, well, we call these episodes Rise and Shine Stories. So, what helps you rise and shine on days when you feel low or discouraged?
What helps me is to realize that you don't have to feel shiny every single day. And actually, sometimes it's when you show up when you're feeling dull that blesses people's lives the most
Mm,
because you're being real, you're being you. And I think it helps people to see that vulnerability, that that everyone has their trials and their weaknesses, but we're all pushing through it. So shine whether you feel shiny or not.
I love that. It's a good reminder. Even on the days that we don't feel our best, we can still shine our light no matter how bright it is, right? Dim or super bright. Well, is there anything else that you want to say before we leave? This has been such a great conversation. I could talk to you for a lot longer, but do you want to end with anything in particular?
I would just say this is another thing the Spirit told me: don't be afraid to leave your nets. Like when God is inspiring you to do something different, to make a transition in your life, and I'm referring to Peter, the fisherman, right, who went right back to his nets after the Savior died, because that's what he knew.
Mm.
Don't be afraid to leave those nets behind and do something different.
Oof. That's a good reminder. Thank you so much. Ah, this has been so good. I hope that the people who have watched this, whether live or on the replay, I hope that you feel encouraged, motivated, inspired to act on those nudges that God is giving you. Um, I hope that it it makes you want to shine brighter in your life and do something outside of your comfort zone to live a bolder and better life. So have a fabulous day, and we will chat with you later. Bye.